The cameras may have stopped rolling for the night, but the drama surrounding the Frost family refuses to sleep. Fans everywhere are buzzing with one question that could change everything. Has Jasmine finally broken through the icy walls of the Frost family and secured her place at last? The whispers started small, with a few curious snapshots of Kelsey and Jasmine laughing a little too freely, their body language speaking volumes where words remained silent. But as those pictures spread across social media, the speculation only grew louder. What began as harmless bonding between two women suddenly feels like the seed of something bigger, something that could either heal old wounds or tear the family apart in ways no one ever expected. For years, Rashida has drawn a hard line between her household and the woman once accused of nearly dismantling it. Jasmine's very name has been synonymous with tension, betrayal, and secrets that left scars still visible today. Fans have not forgotten the heated arguments, the tears shed, and the harsh words exchanged in front of the cameras. But this time, it isn't Rashida in the spotlight, it's her stepdaughter, Kelsie, known for her loyalty, her strength, and her fierce protectiveness of her family's legacy. Kelsie is the last person viewers expected to welcome Jasmine with open arms. And yet here we are, staring at undeniable proof that something is shifting. Behind the smiles, though, lies a storm waiting to erupt. If Jasmine truly has found an ally in Kelsie, where does that leave Rashida? Where does it leave Kirk, who has spent years juggling his fractured family dynamics? And perhaps the biggest question of all, is Jasmine's newfound closeness to Kelsie genuine, or is it a calculated move to finally cement her spot in the Frost family once and for all? Emotions are running high, loyalties are being tested, and the Frost household has never felt more divided. Fans are shocked, insiders are whispering about late-night conversations and heated disagreements, and the family's entire foundation seems to hang in the balance. Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the growing bond between Kelsie and Jasmine. A bond that could either save the Frost family or destroy it from within. Rashida took a deep breath before leaning closer to the interviewer, and her voice lowered into that trembling mix of pain and fire that instantly made everyone in the room lean forward. People see pictures, they see clips, they think they know everything, she said, her eyes flickering as if she was trying to decide how much truth the world could handle. But what nobody understands is that this vacation y'all been talking about, it wasn't some little mistake. It was the knife that cut open years of wounds I've been trying to keep stitched together. She paused, her voice catching, before she let the first shockwave roll out. Kirk been cheating on me for years. And Jasmine, she just the latest headline in a story that been written behind my back since day one. The studio was silent except for the sound of Rashida's voice echoing through the room, every word dripping with betrayal. Fans who later watched the footage swore you could feel her heartbreak reaching through the screen. Like every confession carried the weight of 1,000 silent nights. She began to paint a picture that was far darker than anyone expected, remembering nights when Kirk would tell her he was working late, only to come home reeking of perfume that wasn't hers. She recounted the phone calls that cut short when she entered the room, the sudden trips with no explanation, and the way he would brush off her questions with a smirk that made her feel crazy for even asking. "Do you know what it's like?" she asked, her voice trembling. "To lay next to a man every night and feel like a stranger is sharing your bed. Do you know what it's like to smile for cameras? To smile for the kids? While you dying inside 'cause you know the one person you're supposed to trust the most been lying to you?" She wasn't just speaking to the interviewer anymore. She was speaking to every woman who had ever felt her trust crumble in silence. To every fan who thought reality TV only scratched the surface. And then she shifted back to the scandal that had blown everything wide open. Kirk and Jasmine's tropical vacation. Her words painted the scene like a nightmare she had been forced to watch unfold from miles away. Pictures leaked of Kirk laughing on a beach, holding Jasmine's hand. Cocktails clinking as if the world around them didn't exist. "You know what that felt like?" Rashida's tone hardened, fury burning through her sadness. "It felt like he spit on every vow we ever made. Like he chose her smile over our entire life together." She leaned back in her chair, shaking her head, but the storm inside her wasn't finished. She began recalling the years she covered for Kirk, defending him when rumors swirled, standing by his side when fans accused him of stepping out. "I was loyal when nobody else believed in him," she said bitterly. "I fought for us when I should have been fighting for me. And what do I get? A man on vacation with another woman while I'm home raising kids and holding everything together." The interviewer asked gently if Jasmine had reached out, and Rashida's laugh cut sharp like broken glass. "Reach out? That girl didn't reach out to apologize. She reached out to flaunt it, texting me little things like, 'You can't control where his heart goes.' Imagine the disrespect. Imagine being married for years, building a home, a family. And then some girl has the audacity to taunt you, like she earned what you spent your life building. Her voice grew heavier, and the cameras caught the moment a single tear slid down her cheek before she quickly brushed it away, refusing to appear weak. Fans later replayed that moment, swearing it was the most human and vulnerable they had ever seen her. But what came next shocked even the crew, sitting behind the scenes. "This ain't the first vacation Kirk done had without me. This just the one that went public. Y'all think Jasmine is special. There been others. Women I kept quiet about. Trips I pretended not to know about just so my kids wouldn't grow up seeing their daddy dragged through the mud. But silence is poison. It eats you alive. And I've been swallowing that poison for too long." The tension in the room was electric. Every word seemed to peel back a new layer of betrayal, and Rashida wasn't holding back anymore. She recounted nights she sat in her car outside their house, staring at the front door, trying to decide if she could even walk back inside and face him. She described arguments that ended with slammed doors and cold shoulders. Moments where Kirk would promise to change only to repeat the same cycle weeks later. And all the while, she carried herself like nothing was wrong for the cameras, for the fans, for the family. Her tone softened for a moment as she recalled her children, her voice breaking when she said, "Do you know what hurts the most? It ain't just the cheating. It's the fact that my kids might see all this one day. They might see the pictures, the headlines, the gossip, and they'll wonder why their mama stayed, why she smiled through pain." She took another deep breath, her composure faltering before she straightened up again. "I stayed because I believed in the man I married, but the truth is, the man I married died the moment he chose himself over us." Social media exploded with speculation the second clips of her words leaked. Fans divided instantly, some rallying behind Rashida's strength, others questioning why she was still with Kirk after years of betrayal. Hashtags like #StandWith RASHEEDA and #KirkExposed started trending within hours. Even celebrities chimed in, offering support or thinly veiled shade at Kirk's actions. But Rashida wasn't done. Her story still had chapters left to unfold, and she made it clear this was only the beginning. As the interviewer leaned in, asking how much more she was willing to share, Rashida gave a chilling smile. "I've been silent too long. If y'all think a vacation scandal is the whole story, sit tight, because the truth is uglier than anyone's ready for." And with that, she set the stage for revelations that would shake not only her marriage but the very foundation of the family's reality TV empire. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every flicker of emotion across her face. The studio audience, silent and transfixed, knew they were witnessing a moment that would live on in gossip columns and fan forums for years to come. And as Rashida prepared to dive deeper, to expose not just a scandal but a history of betrayal, the weight of her words hung in the air, heavy and unforgettable, pulling everyone further into the storm she had just unleashed. The whispers of betrayal, redemption, and family ties hung heavy in the Atlanta air as the cameras panned from one corner of the Frost household to another, capturing fragments of attention no one could quite put into words. Kirk's name had been dragged through mud before. Rashida had cried her tears and fought her battles. But the energy tonight was different. Something had shifted in a way that fans could not ignore. At the center of it all stood Jasmine, the woman long painted as the villain, and Kelsie, the daughter who had sworn to protect her family at all costs. What had begun as hushed speculation online now burned like wildfire, spreading through group chats, trending hashtags, and late-night debates about loyalty and legacy. Fans were shocked not just by the possibility of reconciliation, but by the growing evidence that Jasmine and Kelsie were moving closer. And the question on everyone's lips was simple: why now? And at what cost? In one scene, captured not by official cameras but by an eager fan lurking outside a popular Atlanta cafe, Jasmine and Kelsie were seen seated side by side, leaning into each other with the kind of comfort that couldn't be faked. Their laughter rang out, unguarded and warm, leaving those who saw it in disbelief. "Ain't no way that's real," one fan tweeted, while another insisted, "That bond looks deeper than friendship, it looks like family." The video hit social media within hours, drawing thousands of comments and even more questions. Some cheered at the possibility of healing, saying it was time to let the past go. Others warned that Rashida's silence spoke volumes, and that silence might be the calm before a devastating storm. When Rashida finally spoke, her words were measured but her eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. "People can choose who they want to spend time with," she said during a confessional taping. Her tone cool but her hands clasped tightly together, But not everybody that smiles with you got good intentions. It was a dagger hidden in plain sight, and fans knew exactly who it was aimed at. Still, Kelsie refused to back down. When asked about her growing connection with Jasmine, she answered without hesitation, her voice carrying a mixture of defiance and exhaustion. "Look, I'm grown. I can make my own decisions. Jasmine's not perfect, but neither is anybody else in this family. Sometimes you just need to sit down, talk, and see people for who they are, not just what they've done." The room went still, the weight of her words cutting through the air like broken glass. It wasn't long before Kirk found himself cornered. In the kitchen, a glass of water in one hand, his phone buzzing in the other. Rashida's glare followed him like a shadow. "You knew about this, didn't you?" she demanded, her voice rising as the cameras caught every syllable. "You sat there and let your daughter go running around with the same woman who almost tore this family apart. Do you understand how that makes me feel?" Kirk stammered, trying to explain, but every word he spoke sounded like an excuse. "Babe, I didn't listen. I just thought maybe if Kelsey and Jasmine got along, it could ease some of the tension. I wasn't hiding it from you. I didn't want to bring it up until I knew if it was even real." His reasoning only deepened Rashida's fury. "Real," she snapped, her eyes blazing. "What's real is the disrespect. What's real is the pain. And now you're telling me you're just okay with her being around our daughter like everything's cool?" As emotions ran high, Kelsie walked into the room, her presence commanding attention despite the storm brewing between her parents. She stood her ground, her voice steady but charged with emotion. "I'm not a little girl anymore, Mama. You can't control every move I make. Jasmine's trying, and I'm willing to give her a chance. If that bothers you, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna cut somebody off just because it makes people uncomfortable." Rashida's eyes widened, disbelief etched across her face. The cameras zoomed in, catching every flicker of anger, hurt, and confusion that rippled through her expression. For a moment, it seemed as though the family might implode right there in the kitchen, but instead, Rashida turned her back, her silence heavier than any words she could have spoken. Outside of the Frost household, fans dissected every moment like detectives on a mission. Talk shows speculated about the fallout, Instagram lives buzzed with fan theories, and even other cast members weighed in. Young Jock, never one to hold back, offered his own colorful take during a radio interview. "Man, I done seen a lot of things in this industry, but Kelsey and Jasmine being cool, that's one I ain't never expect. Look, I'm happy for peace, but I know drama when I see it. And trust me, this ain't the end. It's just the beginning." His words spread like gasoline on an already blazing fire, fueling the frenzy even further. Back at home, the atmosphere grew thick with unspoken tension. Jasmine, sensing the storm she had walked into, attempted to explain herself during a one-on-one with producers, her voice cracked with a mixture of vulnerability and determination. "I know what people think about me. I know the pain I caused, but I'm not that same woman anymore. I'm not here to hurt nobody. All I want is a chance to show that I can be better, and if Kelsey's willing to give me that, then maybe everybody else will too one day." Tears welled in her eyes, but beneath the emotion was a quiet strength that startled even the producers. This wasn't the Jasmine fans had grown used to. This was someone fighting for redemption. Still, trust is not built overnight, and with every small step forward came another sharp setback. Rashida's mother, Miss Shirlene, made her feelings known in no uncertain terms during a family dinner gone wrong. "Baby, I done told you before and I'll say it again, once a snake, always a snake. You don't just let somebody back in your life after the poison they done spread. I don't care how much she smiles. I don't care what she say. That girl don't belong at this table." Her words sent shockwaves across the room, silencing even the usually talkative Kirk. Jasmine lowered her gaze, swallowing back tears, while Kelsie shot her grandmother a look of pure frustration. "It's not fair to keep punishing her forever," Kelsie argued, her voice trembling with anger. "People change. If we can't see that, then what kind of family are we?" The clash of generations, loyalties, and old wounds left the Frost household teetering on the edge of chaos. Every moment felt like it could tip the balance, and every conversation hinted at deeper fractures waiting to split open. Still, despite the tension, Jasmine and Kelsey's bond only seemed to strengthen, their connection defying the resistance that surrounded them, whether it was late-night phone calls, candid selfies, or stolen moments of laughter. The two women continued to build a relationship that was impossible to ignore. And as the season unfolded, fans braced themselves for the inevitable explosion. knowing that in the Frost family, peace was always temporary, and drama was never far behind. The silence after Miss Shirley's words was so sharp it felt like the air itself had cracked. Forks clinked against plates, no one daring to breathe too loudly. As Jasmine sat stiffly in her chair, eyes fixed on the tablecloth as though it might swallow her whole, Kelsey's jaw tightened, her body practically humming with the need to defend her new bond. Finally, she pushed her chair back with a sharp scrape and stood, her voice breaking through the tension, like glass shattering on a floor. "Y'all keep talking about family, loyalty, respect, but where was all that when I was hurting? Where was all that when I was tired of carrying everybody's baggage on my back?" Jasmine may not be perfect, but she listens, she shows up. And right now, that's more than I can say for some of the people at this table. Rashida's eyes flashed, her hand tightening around her glass before she carefully set it down. Her voice was low, deliberate, but the edge cut deep. "Don't you dare stand there and act like we haven't been there for you, Kelsey. Everything we've done, everything I've done was to protect this family, to protect you. And now you're gonna throw that away for someone who spent years tearing us apart." The room pulsed with emotion, every word heavy with history. Kirk, as usual, tried to play mediator, raising his hands like a referee in a fight, spiraling out of control. Hold up, let's not do this right here. This ain't the time. This ain't the place. We supposed to be eating dinner as a family, not tearing each other down." But his attempt at calm only poured gasoline on an already burning fire. Kelsey turned on him, her words sharp and unflinching. "No. This is exactly the time. Y'all been sweeping stuff under the rug for years, and I'm sick of it. I'm not gonna keep pretending everything is fine just because it looks good for the cameras. If I want to talk to Jasmine, I will. If I want to give her a chance, I will. And nobody," she glanced at Rashida, then Miss Shirley, "nobody is gonna tell me otherwise." Jasmine finally found her voice, soft but clear, like a plea rising above the chaos. "I didn't come here to cause trouble. I know my mistakes. I know my past, but I've been trying every single day to be better. If you can't see that, I can't force you, but I promise you, I don't have any bad intentions toward this family anymore. Especially not you, Rashida." Her eyes glistened, sincerity pouring through, but Rashida remained stone-faced, her silence louder than words. Fans who later watched this scene unfold couldn't believe what they were seeing. "This is history right here," one viewer tweeted, Jasmine pouring her heart out, and Rashida still ain't giving her nothing. "This is TV gold." The fallout didn't stay contained within those four walls. Word spread quickly, clips leaked online, and soon the Frost family drama was the talk of the city. Radio hosts debated whether Kelsey was brave or foolish for siding with Jasmine. Instagram commenters picked sides like it was a sport, with hashtags like #TeamRashEEDA and #TeamKelsie trending overnight. Even fellow cast members chimed in. Sierra Gates posted a cryptic message on her story, saying, "Sometimes the enemy of your mama is not your friend. Watch carefully who you let in your circle." Fans immediately connected the dots, convinced it was a shot aimed at Kelsey's newfound alliance. But while the outside world dissected the drama like a public trial, the Frost house itself became a pressure cooker. Kelsey's determination only grew stronger, her bond with Jasmine deepening in the shadows of disapproval. They were spotted together again, this time at a charity event, where Jasmine had volunteered to help organize donations for single mothers. Cameras caught Kelsey beaming at her side, proudly introducing her to acquaintances as though they had been connected for years. It was a bold move, one that signaled to everyone watching that Kelsey wasn't just testing the waters, she was fully diving in. Back at home, Rashida confided in her closest friend and confidant, her voice breaking in a rare moment of vulnerability. "It feels like I'm losing my daughter," she admitted, tears threatening to spill. "After everything, after all the work I put in to protect her, she's walking right into the arms of the same pain I fought to keep out. I don't know if I can watch her do this." The rawness of her confession struck a chord with fans, who flooded comment sections with empathy and outrage. "Rashida deserves better," one fan wrote. "Why does Kelsey keep stabbing her in the back?" But others saw it differently. "Maybe Rashida's holding on too tight," another fan argued. "Sometimes you gotta let people figure out their own relationships. Maybe Jasmine really is trying." This divide mirrored the split within the Frost household itself, with Kirk caught awkwardly in the middle. Privately, he admitted to a producer, "Man, I don't even know what to do. I see both sides. I see my wife hurting, but I also see my daughter finding her own voice. If I pick a side, I lose. If I stay neutral, I lose. Either way, This family's at risk of breaking apart. The tension finally boiled over during a family outing meant to ease the stress. They had planned a casual evening at a local bowling alley, laughter and games to lighten the mood. But the moment Jasmine showed up invited quietly by Kelsie, the fragile peace shattered. Rashida froze mid-step, her eyes narrowing the instant she spotted Jasmine walking toward their lane. Kelsie, unfazed, smiled and waved her over. "Come on, girl, we saved you a spot." Gasps echoed across the alley as fans recognized the trio. Phones instantly raised to capture what promised to be yet another viral moment. "Are you serious right now?" Rashida hissed, her voice carrying across the polished lanes. "You brought her here, to family night." The cameras zoomed in, capturing every ounce of her fury. While Jasmine stood awkwardly to the side, clutching her purse like a shield, Kelsie didn't flinch. "Yes, I did, because she deserves to be included. She's not the enemy anymore. Mama, you just don't want to see it." The argument escalated quickly, the sound of pins crashing in the background clashing with the shouts of a family on the verge of collapse. By the end of the night, the outing was ruined. Rashida storming off as Kirk trailed behind her, torn between anger and exhaustion. Jasmine, humiliated but determined, whispered to Kelsie, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ruin anything." Kelsie shook her head fiercely, her eyes burning with conviction. "You didn't ruin anything, you showed up. That's more than I can say for a lot of people when I needed them." The words struck deep, hinting at wounds long hidden beneath Kelsie's calm exterior. As the screen faded to black, fans were left buzzing, theories running wild. Was this the beginning of Jasmine's redemption arc, or the slow unraveling of the Frost family as we knew it? Could Kelsie's loyalty to Jasmine bridge the divide, or would it finally push Rashida past the point of no return? The drama had only just begun, and the stakes had never been higher. The bowling alley incident became the crack that split the Frost family wide open. By the time Rashida and Kirk got home that night, the tension had curdled into something sharp and unbearable. Rashida paced the living room floor, her heels clicking against the hardwood, her voice a mixture of hurt and rage. "She knows what she's doing. Kirk, don't you see it? Jasmine is slipping her way back in through Kelsie, and if we don't stop this, it's only a matter of time before she's sitting at our table every night like nothing ever happened." Her words were laced with fear, the kind of fear that comes from knowing the wounds of the past never truly heal. Kirk leaned against the arm of the sofa, rubbing the back of his neck, visibly worn down. "Rashida, I hear you, but what you think I'm supposed to do?" "Kelsie's grown now. She ain't a little girl we can ground or punish. She's making her own choices, and if I push too hard, we risk losing her completely." That reasoning only made Rashida's blood boil. "So what? We just let Jasmine back in and act like the years of lies and cheating didn't destroy us. We just smile and nod while Kelsie parades her around like a new best friend." "No, Kirk, not on my watch." While the parents clashed behind closed doors, Kelsie doubled down on her loyalty to Jasmine. In the days after the bowling alley blow-up, the two women were spotted together more than ever, grabbing coffee, shopping, even filming TikToks that quickly went viral. Their chemistry was undeniable, their laughter contagious, and fans couldn't get enough. "They look like sisters," one fan commented. Another wrote, "Kelsie finally found someone who understands her, and y'all mad about it. Let her be happy." The internet was buzzing, but with every like and share, Rashida's resentment only deepened. She watched the clips through gritted teeth, her jaw tightening as the narrative spun out of her control. Producers, sensing the ratings gold in the growing feud, arranged a sit-down between Rashida, Kelsie, and Jasmine. It was meant to be a moment of clarity, a chance for everyone to air out their feelings in a controlled setting. Instead, it turned into a battle of wills that left everyone more fractured than before. The cameras captured the three women seated across from each other, the tension so thick it felt like the air might crack. Rashida started first, her voice calm but icy. "Kelsie, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This," she gestured toward Jasmine, "is not family. This is not someone who has earned a place in our circle. And the more you force this, the more you're pushing me away." Jasmine flinched at the words. "But me away." Jasmine flinched at the words. But, before she could respond, Kelsie jumped in, her tone sharp with frustration. "You keep acting like I'm choosing her over you, Mama, but that's not what this is. I can care about more than one person. I can love you and still give Jasmine a chance. Why is that so hard for you to understand?" The cameras zoomed in as Rashida's eyes filled with tears, her voice cracking for the first time. "Because every time I see her face, I remember the nights I cried myself to sleep. I remember the betrayal, the humiliation, the pain that almost broke this family. And now you're asking me to sit here and welcome her like it never happened. That's not fair to me." Jasmine, her hands trembling, finally spoke up, her voice raw. I never asked you to forget, Rashida. I know I hurt you. I know I hurt this family, but I've been trying to make it right. I've grown. I've changed. And if you can't forgive me, I understand. But please don't punish Kelsey for seeing the good in me. She deserves better than that. The words hung in the air, heavy and haunting. For a moment, it seemed Rashida might soften, but then she shook her head, her expression hardening once more. You can say whatever you want, Jasmine, but actions speak louder than words. And right now, the only action I see is you dividing my family. Kelsey slammed her hand on the table, the sound echoing through the room. No, Mama, you're the one dividing us. You're so stuck in the past that you can't see the future right in front of you. I'm tired of choosing sides. I'm tired of feeling like I can't have my own voice in this family. If you can't accept that, then maybe we're not as close as I thought. Gasps erupted behind the cameras, the crew exchanging wide-eyed looks as the Frost family fissures cracked wider than ever. Meanwhile, word of the sit-down leaked to the blogs, and speculation exploded. Headlines screamed, Kelsey defends Jasmine against Rashida's fury, and is this the end of the Frost family as we know it? Fans lined up in comment sections, some applauding Kelsey for standing her ground, others slamming her for betraying her mother. The family's reputation, once tightly controlled, was unraveling in real time, each new clip and quote, feeding the flames. The tension spilled into the public eye when the Frosts attended a charity gala together. It was meant to be a united front, a chance to shift focus away from the family drama. But when Jasmine arrived, once again by Kelsey's side, the evening descended into chaos. Cameras captured Rashida's visible discomfort, her forced smile cracking as whispers spread through the crowd. Ain't that Jasmine? Someone muttered. She bold for showing up here. Paparazzi swarmed, flashes blinding, as reporters shouted questions that only added fuel to the fire. Rashida, are you ready to forgive Jasmine? Kelsey, is Jasmine officially part of the family now? Jasmine, how do you respond to people calling this a calculated move? At one point, Rashida excused herself from the table, tears streaking her perfectly made-up face as Kirk trailed after her, trying to calm her down. I can't do this, she sobbed in the hallway, her voice breaking. It feels like I'm drowning. Kirk, no matter what I do, she's there. And now my own daughter's holding her hand through it all. How am I supposed to survive this? Kirk held her close, whispering words of reassurance, but even he couldn't hide the doubt in his eyes. The cracks in their marriage, once patched over, were widening again under the weight of Jasmine's presence. Inside the ballroom, Kelsey stood defiantly at Jasmine's side, her arm linked through hers as though daring anyone to challenge them. You don't have to be scared, she whispered to Jasmine, her voice firm. As long as I'm here, you're not alone. The gesture didn't go unnoticed, and by the end of the night, photos of their solidarity were plastered across every blog and gossip page. Fans were left divided yet again, some praising Kelsey for her loyalty, others accusing Jasmine of manipulating her way back into the spotlight. And yet, despite the chaos, something undeniable was happening. Jasmine's bond with Kelsey was growing stronger, unshakable in the face of disapproval. Whether it was genuine redemption or a cunning play for acceptance, one thing was clear: the Frost family would never be the same again. The gala fallout lingered long after the glittering lights dimmed and the cameras shut off. By the next morning, social media was ablaze with clips of Rashida storming out, Kirk trailing after her, and Kelsey defiantly standing with Jasmine like a soldier guarding her post. The hashtags were relentless: #FrostFamilyDivided, #JasmineReturns, #Kelsey's Rashida, and the chatter wasn't slowing down. Even celebrities outside the love and hip-hop universe weighed in, fanning the flames with tweets and Instagram stories that kept the controversy alive. Fans were shocked, but also addicted, clinging to every development as though the fate of their own families depended on it. Inside the Frost home, the tension had reached a boiling point. Rashida sat at the kitchen island, scrolling through her phone, her lips pressed tight. Each new headline felt like another knife in her back. I can't take this, Kirk, she muttered, slamming her phone down. They're making me look weak. They're painting her like some kind of victim, and me like the villain. Do you know how humiliating this is after everything I've been through? Her voice cracked with raw pain, but underneath it was a simmering rage. Kirk, looking exhausted, rubbed his temples. Babe, I get it. I do. But you can't let the blogs run your emotions. You gotta focus on what's happening right here, in this house. Before Rashida could answer, Kelsey walked in, her energy unbothered, almost defiant. She placed her purse on the counter, glancing between her parents like she'd been preparing for this showdown all morning. If y'all are gonna talk about me, at least wait until I leave the room, she said flatly. Rashida spun on her, eyes narrowing. This isn't about you, Kelsey. This is about respect. Respect for this family. Respect for me. And every time you're out there smiling with Jasmine, you're spitting on that respect. Kelsey's arms folded tightly across her chest, her jaw set. No, Mama. Every time you refuse to even consider forgiveness, you're spitting on growth, on change. People make mistakes, but you act like Jasmine ain't allowed to be anything other than the worst thing she's ever done. That's not fair. The room fell silent for a beat before Rashida's voice rose, trembling with anger. Not fair. Do you know what wasn't fair? Watching my marriage crumble because of her. Watching the whole world judge me while I was trying to hold my family together. And now you want me to welcome her with open arms. You want me to clap for the woman who almost destroyed everything I built? Her words hit like bullets, each one echoing in the heavy air. Kelsey's eyes glistened, but her voice stayed steady. This isn't about the past anymore. This is about the future. And whether you like it or not, Jasmine's gonna be a part of mine. Kirk tried once again to calm the storm, but it was no use. Rashida stormed out of the kitchen, leaving father and daughter staring at each other across the cold granite counter. You gotta talk to her, Kirk sighed, his voice low. You can't keep pushing her like this, or one day she might not come back. Kelsey shook her head, her resolve hard as stone. I'm not the one pushing. Daddy, she is. Meanwhile, Jasmine was fighting her own battles. Alone in her apartment, she scrolled through the avalanche of comments, her emotions swinging wildly between hope and despair. Some fans were rallying behind her, calling her brave for facing her past head-on. Others were cruel, dredging up every mistake she'd ever made, reminding her that, in the eyes of many, she would never be forgiven. Sitting on her couch, she whispered to herself, almost like a prayer. I just want a chance. Just one real chance to prove I'm not that same girl. Producers, smelling blood in the water, pushed for another explosive meetup, this time with the entire Frost family, including Miss Charlene. The setup was a dinner at a trendy Atlanta restaurant. The kind of place where every corner was drenched in luxury but the tension at the table could cut glass. The cameras rolled as Jasmine walked in, her head held high despite the whispers that followed her every step. Kelsey rose immediately, hugging her tightly, sending a clear message to everyone present. She wasn't backing down. Miss Charlene wasted no time, her voice booming across the table. Lord, have mercy. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Y'all done brought the snake right into dinner again. I told you before, once a snake, always a snake. Gasps rippled across the room, the servers freezing mid-step, the cameras zooming in for every detail. Jasmine's hands trembled, but she forced herself to stay composed. I know I can't change how you see me, Miss Charlene, but I'm not here to cause harm. I'm here because I care about Kelsey, and I want to do better. Rashida leaned forward, her eyes locked on Jasmine like lasers. You keep saying you want to do better, but what have you really done? Other than showing up in places you don't belong and creating chaos, what have you actually done to make things right? Jasmine swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. I've stayed out of the drama for years. I've worked. I've raised my child. I've kept my distance because I knew it was what you needed, but I can't erase the past. Rashida, all I can do is try to be better in the present. Kelsey couldn't hold back any longer. She slammed her hand against the table, her voice rising above the noise of the restaurant. Enough. You keep dragging her through the mud like she's the only one who ever made mistakes in this family. Daddy ain't perfect. You ain't perfect. None of us are. So why is it so easy to forgive everybody else but her? The words landed heavy, silencing the table. Even Rashida, furious as she was, couldn't immediately respond. Fans watching from their screens later would replay that moment again and again, dubbing it the line that shook the Frost dynasty to its core. The dinner ended in chaos, Rashida storming out once more, Miss Charlene muttering under her breath about curses and snakes, while Kelsey held Jasmine's hand firmly, refusing to let go. Outside, paparazzi swarmed, capturing the raw emotions spilling into the Atlanta night. The photos hit the blogs within minutes, painting a picture of a family split in two, with Kelsey and Jasmine on one side and Rashida and her loyalists on the other. By the time the episode aired, fans were in an uproar. Some claimed Kelsey had finally broken free of Rashida's shadow, applauding her independence. Others accused Jasmine of manipulating the situation, using Kelsey as her ticket back into the spotlight. The comments were vicious, the memes relentless, but one thing was clear: the Frost family drama had never been hotter. And with every passing day, the question grew louder: was Jasmine finally securing her spot in the Frost family, or was this the beginning of the end for them all? The whispers around town grew louder as more fans noticed the undeniable closeness between Kelsey and Jasmine. A closeness that was beginning to spark arguments not only within the Frost family but also among the fans who had loyally followed their journey from the beginning. It started with subtle things, like Jasmine attending small family functions that once would have been unimaginable, and Kelsie defending her presence with a firmness that shocked even her closest friends. She deserves another chance, Kelsie insisted during one heated dinner when Rashida raised her eyebrows at Jasmine's quiet appearance at the table. The room grew tense, Kirk coughed to break the silence, and everyone seemed to shift uncomfortably in their seats, as though waiting for someone to explode. Rashida leaned forward, her voice low but sharp. A chance. After everything, Kelsie, are you forgetting what's at stake? But Kelsie didn't flinch. She looked her stepmother dead in the eye and said, I'm not forgetting anything. I'm just choosing not to hold on to the past forever. That one statement sent shockwaves through the room. And though nothing more was said that night, the silence carried a weight that seemed to hang in the air for days afterward. Behind closed doors, Rashida confided in her friends that she felt blindsided by her stepdaughter's defense of Jasmine. To Rashida, this wasn't about petty grudges. It was about trust, family values, and the scars of betrayal that never fully healed. Yet fans watching from the outside saw something different: an evolving bond between two women who, despite the history that divided them, seemed to share a desire for understanding and perhaps redemption. Social media blew up with speculation. Posts flooded in with captions like Kelsie choosing Jasmine over her own and is Jasmine playing the long game? Memes circulated, and the Frost family drama once again dominated timelines, stirring debates in comment sections where fans passionately took sides. Some argued that Kelsie was simply showing maturity and grace, while others accused Jasmine of manipulating her way into the family circle. What nobody could deny was the tension growing in the Frost household. Kirk found himself caught in the middle yet again, his past choices coming back to haunt him in ways he could never have predicted. During a private conversation with a friend, he admitted, I thought the hardest part was over. I thought we'd moved past the worst of it. But now, watching Kelsey and Jasmine get close, it's like watching the past unravel in front of me all over again. His voice carried the tone of a man exhausted by years of balancing fragile relationships, and yet he knew he couldn't step away. This was his family, his legacy, and his responsibility, if it meant facing more chaos. One of the most dramatic moments came during a family gathering that was supposed to be lighthearted, a celebration of Kelsey's latest project. Everyone was in good spirits until Jasmine walked through the door, invited by Kelsey without consulting anyone else. The energy in the room shifted instantly. Rashida stiffened, her smile fading as her eyes locked on Jasmine. Conversations paused, the air grew heavy, and everyone waited for the inevitable clash. Kelsey, trying to ease the tension, quickly spoke up. I asked her to come. She's been supporting me, and I wanted her here. But instead of diffusing the situation, Kelsey's words sparked fire. Rashida stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor, and said, supporting you? Do you even realize what this looks like? Do you know how this makes me feel, Kelsey? The room was silent, all eyes darting between Rashida's anger and Kelsey's calm but firm expression. Jasmine, caught in the middle, looked uncomfortable but didn't back down. I didn't come to cause problems, she said softly. I just wanted to be here for her. The scene was a powder keg, emotions clashing in ways no one could control. Some family members tried to mediate, urging everyone to calm down, but the damage was already done. For fans watching the drama unfold through social media clips and whispered accounts from insiders, this was the kind of reality TV level chaos they couldn't look away from. It's like watching a soap opera, one fan tweeted. I can't believe this is real life. Yet to the Frosts, this was painfully real, a moment that could reshape their family forever. And as Rashida walked out of the room that night, leaving behind a stunned and divided family, the question that lingered was simple. Had Kelsey crossed a line that could never be uncrossed? Or was she paving the way for a healing the family never thought possible? The fallout from that explosive night where Rashida stormed out left the Frost household in a haze of tension, suspicion, and unspoken words that weighed heavier than anything they had endured in years. And while the outside world feasted on rumors and speculation, inside the family, each person was grappling with their own storm of emotions, trying to decide which side of the invisible battle lines they would stand on. And the days that followed only intensified the drama as Rashida made it clear through cold silences and clipped answers that she wasn't ready to forgive Kelsey for blindsiding her, while Kelsey, in turn, doubled down on her stance, refusing to backtrack or apologize for choosing to give Jasmine space in her life. a decision that turned into whispered arguments behind closed doors. Tense dinners, where the clinking of forks against plates sounded louder than conversations. And subtle digs that fans would later describe as the kind of reality TV moment that practically writes itself. With people taking sides in droves online, some praising Kelsie for showing maturity and others accusing Jasmine of being a master manipulator who knew exactly how to exploit cracks in the family foundation. Kirk, caught once again between the two strongest women in his life, tried to act as the peacemaker, but his efforts often made things worse. Like the night he sat down with Kelsie and said, "You know I respect you, but you need to understand your stepmom's point of view. She's been through too much to just accept." Jasmine at the table without warning, and Kelsie, with tears welling up in her eyes, shot back, "Respecting her doesn't mean erasing myself, Dad. And it doesn't mean shutting out someone who has tried to make amends." Words that echoed through the house as Jasmine, who happened to overhear the exchange, lingered in the hallway, clutching her phone and fighting back the urge to walk away, knowing that even when she tried to stay quiet, her presence still stirred chaos. The tension reached new heights when Rashida confided in a close friend during a filmed brunch outing, admitting that she felt betrayed not only by Jasmine's continued appearances, but also by Kelsie's insistence on defending her, saying in frustration, "It feels like I'm being ganged up on in my own home, like everyone's forgotten the pain I went through, and now I'm supposed to smile and pretend like it never happened. That's not me, that's not real. And I'm not about to rewrite history just to make Jasmine comfortable." And those raw words made it to the blogs within hours, fueling even more speculation and dividing fans even further. Meanwhile, Jasmine attempted to take control of her own narrative, appearing on a podcast where she delicately addressed the rumors without naming names, saying, "Growth is real, forgiveness is real, and sometimes people don't see the work you're doing because they're too focused on who you used to be." A statement that sent chills through listeners who knew exactly which family she was talking about. And though her tone was calm and measured, her choice of words reignited the question, was Jasmine genuinely seeking redemption, or was this all part of a carefully planned strategy to secure her place once and for all? As the weeks went by, the family continued to fracture in subtle but unmistakable ways, with small alliances forming and breaking like waves. Kirk tried to bridge the gap but often found himself met with Rashida's frustration, Kelsie's defiance, and Jasmine's quiet persistence. And it all boiled over during another family gathering when Rashida, unable to hold back her feelings any longer, looked Jasmine in the eye and said, "You don't belong here, no matter how hard you try." Words that cut through the air like a knife, leaving the room stunned into silence, until Kelsie, shaking with anger, snapped back, "You don't get to decide who belongs in my life, Rashida, you don't." A declaration that left the family even more divided, as some quietly supported Kelsie's independence while others whispered that she was destroying the fragile unity the Frosts had fought to maintain. Fans watching the drama unfold in real time were glued to their screens, dissecting every clip, every tweet, every Instagram post, with hashtags like #TeamRASHEEDA and #JusticeForKelsie trending simultaneously. And the frenzy only deepened when reports surfaced that producers were eager to capture every raw moment for the upcoming season, knowing this storyline had the potential to dominate the ratings. But what the cameras couldn't capture were the sleepless nights, the private tears, and the internal battles each woman faced as they wrestled with questions of loyalty, trust, and the meaning of family. Rashida questioning if standing her ground made her a villain in her own story. Kelsie questioning if fighting for Jasmine was worth the fractures it was causing. And Jasmine questioning if her presence was truly bringing healing or simply reopening wounds that would never close. Through it all, Kirk sat at the center. A man haunted by past choices and forced to watch as the consequences unfolded before his eyes. His voice breaking one evening as he admitted to a friend, "Sometimes I wish I could go back, undo it all, just so I wouldn't have to see my family tear itself apart over decisions I made years ago." But there was no going back, no undoing, only moving forward into a future clouded with uncertainty, high emotions, and a family that seemed more fragile with each passing day, leaving everyone both inside the Frost circle and fans around the world wondering not just if Jasmine had finally secured her spot in the family, but at what cost that spot would come. The days after Rashida's harsh declaration turned into weeks of uneasy silence, where every interaction in the Frost household felt like walking across glass, fragile and dangerous. And while the public saw curated images of smiles on social media, the reality behind closed doors was far darker, filled with side glances, whispered arguments, and late-night phone calls that never ended with peace. Because the family had reached a breaking point, one that fans sensed instinctively as gossip pages lit up with constant speculation about whether this was the end of the Frosts as people had come to know them. And at the center of it all was the increasingly complicated bond between Kelsey and Jasmine, a bond that only seemed to deepen under the weight of Rashida's disapproval, as though the resistance itself fueled their connection, making them more determined to stand by one another even as the rest of the household looked on in shock, confusion, and in some cases, quiet resentment. It was during one particularly tense night that everything spilled over once again, when Kirk, exhausted from playing referee, called a family meeting in the living room, hoping to force everyone into the same space long enough to clear the air. But instead of reconciliation, the gathering ignited into chaos as Rashida crossed her arms, her voice steady but laced with steel, saying, "I can't keep pretending like this doesn't bother me, like I'm okay with the person who almost destroyed my marriage sitting in my house, as if she's earned her place." And Kelsey, her hands trembling but her voice unwavering, shot back, "She's not trying to destroy anything. She's trying to rebuild, and maybe if you could see past your own anger for once, you'd realize that people can change." The argument escalated from there, each word sharper than the last, with Jasmine sitting in the corner, her face pale, her hands clasped together as if holding herself together was the only way she could endure the barrage of accusations being thrown around her name. "Change," Rashida barked, slamming her hand on the arm of the chair. "You don't know what change is, Kelsey. You don't know what it feels like to pick up the pieces of your life after betrayal. You're defending someone who doesn't deserve your loyalty." That was when Jasmine finally broke her silence, her voice trembling but strong enough to cut through the noise. "I never asked for your forgiveness, Rashida. But I'm not going to keep apologizing for the rest of my life either. I've owned my mistakes. I've tried to make things right. But you'd rather live in the past than admit that maybe people are capable of growth." The room went silent, the weight of her words sinking in, and for a moment, even Rashida seemed shaken, though she quickly hardened her expression, unwilling to let anyone see the cracks. Kirk tried to interject, urging everyone to take a breath. But the damage was done, the lines had been drawn deeper, and the battle over Jasmine's place in the family was more heated than ever. Outside of the house, the fallout was even greater, as clips of the argument somehow leaked online, setting fire to fan discussions with hashtags like #FrostFamilyFeud and #JasmineVs RASHEEDA dominating social media. And while some viewers sympathized with Rashida's pain, others pointed out the vulnerability in Jasmine's words, noting how genuine she seemed in her desire to move forward, which only fueled more division among fans, leaving the family exposed in a way they hadn't been in years. Meanwhile, Kelsey doubled down on her defense of Jasmine, posting cryptic messages on her Instagram stories about loyalty, healing, and the importance of letting go of grudges, messages that fans instantly connected to the ongoing drama. And her refusal to back down turned her into both a hero and a target, with some applauding her bravery and others accusing her of disrespecting the woman who raised her. The situation became even more volatile when Rashida's friends got involved, pulling her aside during a girls' night out and warning her that allowing Jasmine back into the fold would only open the door to more chaos. Advice Rashida nodded along to, but didn't entirely believe, because despite her anger, despite her pain, there was a small part of her that wondered if maybe, just maybe, Kelsey saw something in Jasmine that she couldn't bring herself to see. Yet pride is a heavy anchor, and Rashida wasn't ready to let hers go, which meant the stalemate dragged on, each day another battle of side comments and cold shoulders. Until finally, another confrontation erupted, this time in front of extended family during a holiday gathering where tensions were already high. A relative made an offhand joke about Jasmine finally being part of the family, and before anyone could laugh it off, Rashida snapped, her voice rising above the chatter as she declared, "She will never be part of this family. Not as long as I'm here." A statement that silenced the room and brought tears to Jasmine's eyes, who stood abruptly, muttering, "I don't need this," before storming out, with Kelsey chasing after her, leaving the rest of the family stunned, embarrassed, and divided more than ever. Outside, in the cold air of the night, Jasmine sobbed into her hands while Kelsey wrapped an arm around her, whispering, "You do belong. Don't let her convince you otherwise," words that only deepened the emotional bond between them, making it clear that this was no longer a passing alliance, but a full-fledged commitment to one another's corner, no matter the cost. By the time the holiday season ended, the Frost family was fractured in a way that felt irreversible. With Rashida and Kelsey barely speaking, Jasmine retreating from public appearances, and Kirk admitting privately to friends that he had no idea how to fix the mess, confessing, "It's like watching my family fall apart in slow motion, and no matter what I do, I can't stop it." For fans, the saga had become must-watch drama, a story of loyalty, betrayal, forgiveness, and pride that blurred the lines between reality and entertainment. And the question on everyone's lips remained the same. Had Jasmine finally secured her place in the Frost family? Or had her bond with Kelsie only succeeded in driving the entire household further apart than ever before? The fallout of the holiday gathering, where Jasmine left in tears and Kelsie followed her into the cold night, became the turning point that nobody could ignore. Because from that moment onward, the family was not just split, it was fractured in a way that seemed impossible to repair. And as the days turned into nights, and the whispers turned into headlines, the Frost name was once again dragged through every blog, every gossip page, and every fan discussion forum, with fans taking sides, enemies stirring the pot, and insiders leaking details that only added fuel to the fire. Yet inside the Frost home, the silence was louder than any online noise, a silence filled with Rashida's simmering pride, Kelsie's unwavering loyalty to Jasmine, and Kirk's exhausted sighs as he tried to hold together the pieces of a family slipping through his fingers. And though everyone tried to move forward with their own lives, the tension bled into every corner of their existence, spilling out in ways none of them could control. Rashida threw herself into her businesses, pretending that the coldness in her house wasn't eating her alive. But late at night, in the quiet of her bedroom, she admitted to herself that she felt betrayed, not just by Jasmine's persistence, but by Kelsie's defiance, as though the girl she had raised and protected was suddenly choosing a stranger over her, and it hurt in a way Rashida didn't want to show to anyone. Kelsie, on the other hand, found herself more determined than ever to stand beside Jasmine, seeing in her someone who had been demonized for too long, someone who deserved a chance to prove that her mistakes didn't define her. And in defending Jasmine, Kelsie also felt like she was standing up for herself, for her right to choose who belonged in her circle, even if that choice went against the wishes of the very woman who had been like a second mother to her. Jasmine, meanwhile, carried the weight of being at the center of it all, aware that no matter what she did, she was either seen as the villain or the victim, a role she hadn't asked for but couldn't escape. And though she tried to stay strong, late-night calls to friends revealed her exhaustion, her tears, and her desperation to finally be accepted. Whispering into the phone one night, "I don't even know why I'm still trying. Maybe I should just walk away. Maybe that would fix everything." But deep down she knew that walking away would only confirm what her critics had always said, that she never really cared, that she was never strong enough to fight for her place. Kirk, trapped in the middle, tried once again to bring the women together, arranging a dinner under the guise of family unity. But the moment Jasmine walked in, Rashida's smile vanished. And though Kelsie greeted her warmly, the energy in the room was suffocating, as though everyone knew the night would end in disaster. And sure enough, it did. Over plates of untouched food, Rashida finally snapped, saying, "This is my house, and I will not keep pretending like this woman belongs here." And Kelsie, her voice shaking with rage, fired back, "It's not just your house, it's our family, and you don't get to decide who I let in my life." Words that made Rashida's face harden as she pushed her plate away and stood up, her chair screeching across the floor. Kirk begged them to stop, but the shouting only grew louder, until Jasmine, tears streaming down her face, whispered, "I'm done," and walked out once again, leaving behind an echo of silence that no one could fill. The days that followed were brutal, as rumors of the explosive dinner leaked online, fans dissecting every alleged detail, some applauding Kelsie's bravery, others branding her as ungrateful, while Rashida supporters praised her for standing her ground. And through it all, Jasmine became the most talked-about figure of the saga, with blogs running headlines like "Has Jasmine finally broken the Frosts?" and "The woman who divided a legacy." Yet behind those headlines, the truth was more complicated, because even as Rashida fumed, there were moments when she looked at old photos, at family memories, and wondered if her refusal to bend was slowly pushing away not just Jasmine, but Kelsie too, a thought that left her restless and uncertain, though she never let anyone see her doubt. Kelsie, meanwhile, doubled down, posting more cryptic messages about loyalty and growth, and fans noticed she began spending more time with Jasmine publicly, attending events together, smiling in photos, laughing in ways that looked genuine, and though Rashida's absence from those moments was glaring. The bond between Kelsie and Jasmine grew stronger under the spotlight, with each outing sparking more debate, more gossip, and more division. Kirk, overwhelmed, confided in a close friend that he feared this rift might never heal, saying, "I've seen fights before, I've seen drama. But this feels different, it feels permanent." And his words carried the weight of a man who knew that his past mistakes were still poisoning the present. A reminder that the roots of this chaos stretched far deeper than the current arguments, back to choices that had once nearly destroyed his marriage and his family's stability. As the saga dragged on, producers circled like hawks, eager to capture the raw emotions for the cameras. Knowing that this storyline was gold, but what the cameras could never capture were the sleepless nights, the unspoken regrets, and the quiet moments where each woman sat alone, wondering if they were the villain or the hero in this messy, tangled drama. Rashida convinced herself that standing firm was the only way to protect her family. Kelsie convinced herself that defending Jasmine was an act of courage. Jasmine convinced herself that staying meant she still had hope, and Kirk convinced himself that maybe, just maybe, if he kept everyone in the same orbit long enough, they'd find a way back to one another. But as the weeks passed, and the fractures deepened, the question lingered heavier than ever. Had Jasmine finally secured a spot in the Frost family, or had her presence only succeeded in tearing the family apart forever, leaving behind scars that no amount of apologies or time could ever heal? The night after the explosive dinner where every emotion was raw and every secret was laid bare, the Frost household seemed to hold its breath, a tension so thick it clung to the walls. And though the cameras caught only glimpses of the aftermath, what unfolded behind closed doors was even more chaotic than anyone imagined, because Kelsie retreated to her room, with tears streaming down her face. Jasmine tried to hold herself together in the guest room as whispers about her intentions circulated, and Kirk, pacing restlessly through the halls, found himself unable to silence the echo of Rashida's furious words. And while Rashida herself lay awake staring at the ceiling, her mind replaying Jasmine's outburst about being treated like an outsider, it became clear to everyone that the lines had been drawn sharper than ever, with no clear path back to peace. Yet the very next morning, as sunlight poured across Atlanta, Jasmine emerged from her room, not with shame but with an air of defiance, telling producers that she had nothing to apologize for because she only spoke the truth, and if the family couldn't handle it, that was on them, not her. But the cameras captured something more telling. The way Kelsie, still red-eyed and clearly exhausted from a night of crying, glanced at Jasmine with a mixture of resentment and longing, as though torn between hating her and admiring her courage. And that single look was enough to spark fresh speculation online, because fans began debating whether Kelsie's emotions hinted at something deeper, perhaps an unspoken bond that had grown between them through all this chaos. And while Twitter threads exploded with hashtags like #FrostFamilyFallout and #KELSIE and Jasmine, the women inside the house were left navigating the mess with no script and no safety net. For later that day, Kelsie cornered Jasmine in the kitchen, her voice trembling as she said, "Do you even realize what you've done? You've made everything worse for me." To which Jasmine, still nursing her pride, shot back, "Worse? No, baby girl. I just made it real. Your family has been hiding cracks for years. I just showed them the mirror." And the clash of voices carried down the hallway until Rashida herself stormed in. Her patience frayed, snapping at both of them to keep it down before the whole neighborhood hears this circus. But instead of calming things, her words reignited Jasmine's fire, and she looked Rashida straight in the eye and said, "Maybe the whole neighborhood needs to hear it because you can't keep playing queen while everyone around you bleeds." And with that, she slammed a glass onto the counter, shattering it, leaving shards across the floor. And though production rushed in, the footage was already golden. Fans were already hooked, because who could turn away from such raw, unpredictable fury? And what followed only deepened the storm, as later that evening, Kelsie, shaking with nerves, went live on Instagram without telling anyone, pouring her heart out to thousands of fans, confessing that she felt torn in two because while she loved her parents and wanted to honor the Frost family, she also couldn't deny that Jasmine was the only one who truly listened to her, who understood the weight of growing up in a shadow. And her eyes brimmed with tears as she whispered, "Sometimes I think Jasmine sees me more than my own parents do." And those words ignited a wildfire online. Headlines blasting that Kelsie was choosing Jasmine over Rashida, YouTube commentators dissecting every syllable, fans flooding the comments with heart emojis and snake emojis in equal measure, and the Frost brand, already teetering, now seemed ready to collapse under the weight of its own drama. But the real shock came 2 days later when Kirk arranged a sit-down with both Kelsey and Jasmine without Rashida knowing. The three of them gathered in a dimly lit studio where Kirk's voice trembled with an unusual vulnerability, telling them, "Look, I've made mistakes. The world knows that, but I can't let this family fall apart. Not over old wounds, not over words thrown in anger. Because at the end of the day, we either hold each other down or we let outsiders tear us apart." And Jasmine, folding her arms, raised an eyebrow and asked, "So which am I, family or outsider?" And the silence that followed was deafening, Kirk's eyes darting between his daughter and the woman who had caused Rashida so much pain. And finally he sighed, whispering, "That's what I don't know anymore." And that uncertainty hung like smoke, lingering long after the conversation ended. Yet behind the cameras, something unexpected occurred, because when they left the studio, Kelsey slipped her arm through Jasmine's and the two walked side by side, sharing a quiet moment of laughter that no one could explain. And producers swore they saw Kelsey lean in and whisper, "Thank you for fighting for me, even if it meant war." And Jasmine's smile was soft, almost maternal, as she replied, "Baby, sometimes you have to burn it all down to build something real." And whether that bond was friendship, alliance, or something fans would later speculate was even deeper, it marked a turning point in the narrative, because from then on, the Frost family saga wasn't just about Rashida and Kirk's struggles. It was about whether Jasmine could carve herself a permanent place in the dynasty, and whether Kelsey would stand at her side when the final choice had to be made. And the tension only escalated when Rashida discovered the secret meeting, her rage erupting on camera as she shouted at Kirk, "You went behind my back, you sat down with her, and you dragged my daughter into it. How could you betray me again?" And Kirk, defensive, barked back, "I'm trying to save this family while you're too busy protecting your pride." And their fight turned so heated that crew members reportedly had to step in. And though the cameras didn't catch everything, leaked audio revealed Rashida crying out, "If you bring her into this family, you'll lose me," words that instantly went viral, leaving fans stunned and divided, with some insisting Rashida was right to defend her throne, while others argued that Kirk was finally standing up for unity, no matter the cost. And in the middle of it all stood Kelsey, her voice cracking during a confessional as she admitted, "I feel like I'm being asked to choose between my mom and the one person who makes me feel seen." And her anguish resonated so deeply that fans flooded her DMs with messages of support, urging her to follow her heart. But as production teased in their previews, the heart often leads to the most shocking places, and rumors began swirling that Kelsey and Jasmine had started spending late nights together away from the cameras, their bond deepening into something no one had anticipated. And though nothing was confirmed, blurry photos leaked online showing the two laughing in a parked car, Jasmine's hand resting lightly on Kelsey's shoulder, and the internet exploded, with blogs asking whether Jasmine's path into the Frost family was not through Kirk but through Kelsey herself, a twist so scandalous it threatened to rewrite the entire narrative of the show. And though Rashida doubled down in interviews, insisting that Jasmine will never be a Frost, her words rang hollow as fans pointed out that Kelsey's loyalty seemed to be slipping further by the day. And with each new scene filmed, with each fresh argument captured, the stakes grew higher, the emotions roar, until finally the season built toward a cliffhanger dinner where all parties sat at the same table once again, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down like a storm about to break, because Jasmine, smirking slightly, raised her glass and said, "To family whatever that means now," while Kelsey quietly clinked her glass against hers. And across the table, Rashida's jaw clenched so tightly the veins in her neck stood out, and Kirk, looking weary, muttered under his breath, "Lord help us all." And fans everywhere were left holding their breath, waiting to see if this fragile, volatile arrangement would implode or transform into something none of them could have foreseen, the saga of betrayal, loyalty, and forbidden bonds spiraling into the kind of reality TV legend that people would argue about for years to come, leaving the Frost family forever marked by one haunting question: had Jasmine finally secured her place in the dynasty? Or had she merely lit the match that would burn it all to the ground? But just when fans thought the drama had reached its peak, another twist hit like a thunderclap when behind-the-scenes whispers revealed that production had captured unseen footage of Kelsey and Jasmine leaving a late-night lounge together, arm in arm, laughing as though the world around them no longer existed. And while it could have been innocent, the way Jasmine brushed Kelsey's hair back and leaned in close told a different story. A story that producers were saving like dynamite for the perfect moment. And as soon as the rumors leaked online, fans went into overdrive, dissecting body language, pausing every frame, demanding answers. Because if Jasmine had not only carved a bond with Kelsie, but possibly something even more intimate, then Rashida's nightmare of losing control over her family was no longer just speculation. It was unfolding in real time, and the Frost legacy itself seemed to hang in the balance. Because no matter how much Kirk tried to mediate, no matter how many times Rashida doubled down, the undeniable truth was that Kelsie wasn't pulling away from Jasmine, she was pulling closer, and each secret smile, each whispered exchange only fueled the fire, leaving viewers and insiders alike to wonder if this was the ultimate betrayal or the beginning of a shocking new alliance that would rewrite the Frost family's story forever. The storm only grew heavier in the days that followed, because while fans thought they had seen every possible crack in the Frost family foundation, what was about to unfold would push boundaries nobody could have predicted. And it all started when production released a teaser clip that showed Jasmine and Kelsie walking into a recording studio together, their hands brushing just slightly but enough to send the internet into overdrive, sparking debates about whether Jasmine was mentoring Kelsie in music, manipulating her for influence, or genuinely connecting with her in ways the Frost parents never managed. And though the clip lasted less than 20 seconds, the fallout was enormous. Tabloids declaring that Kelsie had chosen Jasmine over Rashida, blogs posting side-by-side comparisons of their outfits, their matching jewelry, even their synchronized laughter, and Twitter erupting with hashtags like #FrostLegacyShaken and #Team vs Team RASHEEDA, creating a cultural battlefield where every fan felt compelled to take a side. But inside the Frost household the war was even uglier, because Rashida confronted Kelsie with a fury that rattled the walls, screaming, "Do you know what you're doing? Do you know what people are saying about us? About me? About this family?" And Kelsie, with tears brimming but voice steady, shot back, "People are finally seeing me, Mama, not just you, not just Dad, me." And that single declaration stunned the room into silence, because for the first time, Kelsie wasn't speaking like a daughter begging for approval but like a woman demanding her own place. And Jasmine, leaning casually against the counter with arms folded, smirked and added, "Maybe you should be proud that your daughter's finally found her voice," which only poured gasoline on Rashida's rage, prompting her to point a trembling finger and hiss, "Don't you dare speak about my child like she's yours, because she never will be." And Jasmine, unflinching, tilted her head and replied, "We'll see about that." And those 5 words reverberated far beyond the kitchen, echoing through fan forums, recap podcasts, and late-night talk shows, where commentators speculated about the true depth of Jasmine's influence, asking whether she had become a surrogate mother, an older sister, or something else entirely in Kelsie's life. And as cameras rolled, it became clear that no matter how hard Rashida fought to lock Jasmine out, Kelsie was unlocking doors herself, stepping into rooms, conversations, and alliances that blurred the line between loyalty and rebellion. Until one night, when Kirk, unable to stomach the widening divide, sat down with Kelsie privately and begged her to reconsider, saying softly, "Baby girl, I know she listens to you, I know she makes you feel seen, but you have to understand, every time you choose her, you're cutting your mama deeper than you know." And Kelsie, her voice trembling, replied, "But Daddy, every time I choose Mama, I'm cutting myself." And those words broke Kirk in a way years of scandals never had, leaving him slumped in his chair, muttering that maybe he had already lost his family long before Jasmine came into the picture. But the real twist came when producers, sensing they had lightning in a bottle, arranged a family retreat under the guise of healing, dragging the entire Frost clan including Jasmine into a lavish lakeside mansion where cameras lurked in every corner. And though the setting was serene, the energy was anything but, because the moment Rashida laid eyes on Jasmine stepping out of her SUV in a flowing red dress, her jaw tightened, her fists clenched, and she muttered to the crew, "They really want to see me snap on national TV," while Jasmine, unfazed, tossed her hair and greeted everyone with a breezy, "Hope y'all ready for a weekend to remember." And thus began 48 hours of fireworks, tears, and betrayal that would etch itself into reality TV legend. Starting with a dinner where Kirk attempted a heartfelt toast about family unity only to be interrupted by Rashida, slamming her glass down and saying, "Family doesn't invite the enemy to the table," prompting Jasmine to rise, lean over the table, and declare, "Maybe family is who actually shows up when you need them." And Kelsie, without hesitation, reached across and grabbed Jasmine's hand, holding it tight in full view of everyone, a gesture so shocking that the entire room gasped. And in that instant Rashida's face collapsed into something between heartbreak and rage, her voice cracking as she shouted, "You think she's your family? After everything she's done to destroy us? After everything she's done to me?" And Kelsie, crying now but refusing to let go of Jasmine's hand, screamed back, "She's done more for me than you ever have," a line that sliced through the air like a blade, silencing even the producers, leaving Rashida trembling with a grief so heavy it nearly brought her to her knees, and Kirk whispering desperately for someone to cut the cameras. But of course they didn't, because this was the climax reality TV was built for. And in the hours that followed, the internet erupted, with fans taking sides more passionately than ever before. Some praising Kelsie for finally standing up for herself, others condemning Jasmine for manipulating her way into the Frost dynasty, while still others speculated that the bond between Kelsey and Jasmine had moved beyond family or friendship into forbidden territory, fueling theories that shook even the most loyal fans. And as dawn broke over the retreat, the fallout was undeniable. Rashida locking herself in a room and refusing to film, Kirk pacing the grounds like a man who'd lost control of everything, and Jasmine and Kelsie sitting together on the porch, whispering promises about sticking together no matter what. And while the microphones couldn't catch every word, one leaked audio snippet captured Jasmine murmuring, "They can hate us all they want, but they can't stop what we've started," to which Kelsie replied, "Then, let's never stop," sealing an alliance that would either cement Jasmine's place in the Frost family forever, or burn the entire empire to ashes. And though the retreat ended with no resolution, just tear-streaked faces and slammed doors, the legacy of that weekend would ripple through every interview, every headline, every whispered rumor for years to come. Because what began as a scandal had transformed into something more, a war for the soul of a family. A dynasty teetering on the edge. And at the center of it all, stood Kelsey and Jasmine, bound by secrets, defiance, and a bond the world couldn't stop talking about, leaving viewers with one haunting question as the season rolled toward its finale. Had Jasmine finally secured her place in the Frost family, or had she merely found a partner in Kelsie to tear it all down from the inside? The aftermath of that lakeside retreat was nothing short of apocalyptic for the Frost family, because once the cameras stopped rolling and everyone returned to Atlanta, the damage couldn't be hidden, the rift couldn't be patched over, and no amount of spin could silence the storm brewing online. As fans flooded timelines with divided opinions, celebrities chimed in with their takes, and entertainment blogs declared that the Frosts had delivered the most shocking reality meltdown of the decade. Yet inside the family home, the chaos was personal, raw, and unbearable, because Rashida could barely look at her daughter without feeling the sting of betrayal. Kelsie moved like a ghost, torn between guilt and defiance. Kirk staggered under the weight of trying to play peacemaker when no one wanted peace, and Jasmine, ever the lightning rod, strutted through the fire with an almost chilling calm, giving confessionals about how truth always feels like betrayal when you've been living a lie too long. A line that went instantly viral and fueled think pieces about generational trauma, loyalty, and what it really meant to belong. And though producers planned to ease tensions with smaller shoots, it backfired spectacularly when Kelsie and Jasmine began appearing together in public more and more often, attending charity events, brunches, even gym sessions side by side, paparazzi capturing every smile, every whispered exchange, until one fateful night when a leaked video showed Kelsie hugging Jasmine tightly outside a club, whispering something into her ear before climbing into Jasmine's car. And the internet erupted with speculation that the two were not just allies but something far more intimate, a possibility that lit up gossip blogs and forced Rashida into a corner, because during a live radio interview she was asked point-blank whether she thought Jasmine was romantically involved with her daughter, and though she tried to laugh it off, her voice betrayed her trembling anger as she said, "My daughter is being manipulated, and people need to stop pushing narratives that aren't true," but the denial only fueled the fire. Fans dissecting every past scene, every shared glance, every late-night sighting until hashtags like #Jasmine and KELSIE and #FrostFamilySecrets trended worldwide. And while Rashida doubled down on damage control, Kelsie broke her silence with another Instagram live, her eyes swollen from tears as she admitted, "I don't know what y'all think you see, but what I know is Jasmine has been there for me in ways nobody else has, and maybe that scares people. Maybe it makes them uncomfortable, but I won't apologize for who I choose to let into my life." And though she never said the word love, the implication was enough to send shockwaves through the fandom, with supporters flooding her comments with encouragement and critics accusing Jasmine of exploiting her vulnerability. And at the heart of it all, Rashida was unraveling, cornering Kirk in a heated argument captured by cameras where she screamed, "If you let her tear this family apart, you'll regret it for the rest of your life," to which Kirk snapped back, "Maybe the only reason she could tear it apart is because it wasn't as strong as you wanted people to believe, And that brutal honesty left Rashida speechless, collapsing into tears as she muttered, "I don't even recognize my own home anymore," and the world watched, transfixed, as the Frost Empire began to crack under the relentless pressure of Jasmine's presence, Kelsey's rebellion, and the gnawing truth that no one could turn back time. And the drama escalated further when production organized a reunion special meant to clarify the season's events, because instead of closure, it delivered the most explosive confrontation yet, with Rashida and Jasmine seated just feet apart on a brightly lit stage, Kelsey in the middle looking like a deer caught in headlights, Kirk off to the side rubbing his temples, and the host barely able to get a word in as Rashida unleashed years of pent-up fury, accusing Jasmine of destroying her marriage, exploiting her daughter, and humiliating her in front of the world, while Jasmine shot back with icy precision, reminding everyone of Kirk's past mistakes, Rashida's controlling nature, and the fact that no one ever asked how Kelsey felt until she came into the picture. And as the shouting reached a fever pitch, Kelsey suddenly stood up, tears streaming down her face, and screamed, "Stop talking about me like I'm not here. I'm not a pawn. I'm not a victim. And I'm not ashamed of who I let in my life," her voice cracking but her resolve unshaken. And then, in a move that sent the live audience into gasps and the internet into meltdown, she turned to Jasmine, grabbed her hand and declared, "You've been my family when nobody else was," a proclamation that left Rashida crumpled in her chair, Kirk staring at the floor, and Jasmine squeezing Kelsey's hand with a look of triumphant defiance. And though the reunion continued with attempts at mediation, the damage was already carved into reality TV history, the moment replayed endlessly on TikTok, dissected in YouTube think pieces, immortalized in memes, and stamped into the Frost family's legacy like an unhealed scar. And afterward, when the cameras stopped rolling, producers whispered among themselves that they had never seen a family story spiral into such uncharted territory. Part tragedy, part love story, part Shakespearean implosion. And still, it didn't end there, because days later, paparazzi snapped Rashida leaving her boutique in tears, rumors swirling that she had moved out of the family home, while Jasmine and Kelsey were photographed boarding a plane together, destination unknown, fueling endless speculation about whether they were running from the chaos or leaning fully into their newfound bond. And the longer they stayed silent, the louder the world screamed, fans demanding answers, critics calling for and insiders whispering that maybe, just maybe, Jasmine had finally done the unthinkable, not just securing a place in the Frost family, but reshaping it entirely in her own image, leaving everyone to wonder whether the empire Rashida built was collapsing or evolving into something she could no longer control. A haunting reminder that in reality TV, the truth is never simple, loyalty is never guaranteed, and family is never just blood. And as the season closed with cliffhangers and unanswered questions, one thing was certain: the Frost dynasty would never be the same again, and neither would we, the viewers who witnessed it all unravel in real time, gasping, tweeting, crying, and choosing sides as though our own hearts were on the line. And still, even then, we were left begging for more, desperate to know whether this was the end of an era or the beginning of a scandalous new chapter that would echo across reality TV forever. The truth is finally out, and now it's impossible to ignore. Rashida has spoken her truth, Kirk has exposed himself once again, and Jasmine's involvement has left the world stunned. We've watched the chaos unfold, the betrayals stack higher, and the tears fall heavier than ever before. But let me ask you this: what do you believe? Do you stand with Rashida, a woman who has fought through humiliation after humiliation, holding her family together through years of lies, only to be blindsided once again? Or do you believe Kirk when he tries to spin the story, painting Jasmine as the problem, when his own actions have left scars no words can heal? This isn't just a love and hip-hop storyline, this is about relationships, loyalty, and the devastating cost of betrayal. We've seen couples fall apart on TV before, but rarely have we seen a woman like Rashida open her heart so raw, so unfiltered, telling the world about years of pain she kept hidden. And when someone bears their soul like that, you can't just turn away, you feel it in your chest. You feel it in your gut, and you know it's real. So here's the question for you: what should Rashida do next? Should she finally walk away, rebuild her peace, and show women everywhere that sometimes the strongest move is letting go? Or should she fight for her family, proving once again that love even in the darkest storms can be rebuilt brick by brick? You already know the internet is divided. Half are screaming, "Leave him, sis," while the other half are whispering, "Hold on, because history runs deep." But in the end, Rashida's decision isn't just for the cameras, it's for her life, her kids, her legacy. And let's not forget Jasmine. She didn't just vanish after the first scandal. She came back into the narrative, stirring wounds that were never truly healed. Some say she's the villain, others say she's simply caught in Kirk's endless cycle of manipulation. But one thing is clear, she's not backing down, and that means this triangle is far from over. Now, here's where you come in. This is more than just entertainment, it's a conversation. I need you to drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you think Rashida should finally cut Kirk loose for good? Or do you believe in redemption? Should Jasmine be exposed even further? Or is Kirk the only one to blame here? I want to see your raw, unfiltered reactions, because this isn't just gossip. This is about trust, betrayal, and the messy truth of relationships. And don't just comment, make sure you subscribe, because trust me when I say this, the story isn't over. If you thought this was the peak of the drama, you haven't seen anything yet. More secrets are coming, more confrontations are brewing. And when it all explodes, you're going to want to be the first to know. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next bombshell. Because, if Kirk thinks he can spin his way out of this, if Jasmine thinks she can slide under the radar, and if Rashida thinks this will be her last word on the matter, you better believe we're here to catch every twist, every tear, and every shocking truth. And before you go, take a second to think about your own life. Have you ever stayed in a situation where your loyalty was taken for granted? Have you ever forgiven someone who didn't deserve it, only to have them hurt you again? Rashida's story isn't just hers, it's a mirror for so many who've been silenced, who've been patient, who've given love only to be betrayed. So while the cameras roll on her life, the lesson is rolling into ours. Know your worth, know your strength, and don't be afraid to demand better. If you're with Rashida, comment Team Rashida below. If you think Kirk deserves another chance, comment Team Kirk. And if you believe Jasmine has been wronged too, comment Team Jasmine. Let's light up that comment section and see where the real fans stand. This story is about to get even messier, and you don't want to miss the next chapter. Subscribe, share this video, and tell your friends to tune in because what happens in this triangle might just be the most explosive storyline love and hip-hop has ever seen. Stay locked in, because when the next secret drops, you'll hear it here first.